The first one was actually recording, but then partway in, I was like, wait, did I check to make sure it was actually recording?
Nice.
Yeah. All right. So, welcome to the podcast, Comedy or Worse.
I'm here for the worst part.
Yes. And I'm here with my guest,
Dave Callans.
Yes.
If you're watching this at some other time, it's Christmas right now, so.
It's just about Christmas, yeah. Let's see, so...
It'd be weird if I always wore this all the time, alright.
Yeah, it would be weird.
Be a thing though. Alright.
Everybody has to have their own thing, right?
Yeah.
That's the wrong file. So, do you use a stage name?
No.
Okay.
No, and I've thought about that because I have a lot of friends who have used stage names.
Yeah.
There's people that we know in comedy that use stage names. There's probably people that are using a stage name, you don't even know they're using a stage name.
Yeah, like Frankie Gonzalez. I didn't know that Frankie is
Right.
his real name.
Gordon Downs, same, another one. And I've had friends who have changed their name by like one letter, and it's usually because they don't want their workplace or someone looking them up, whatever.
Right.
I never thought about that. I was like, I don't care. But now that I have a job where I'm like dealing with the general public, I'm like, maybe that would have been a good idea, because now I have to set my stuff on private, like, so people can't look me up.
Really?
So I'm like, I mean, I don't know. Would I have used a stage name if I knew I'd get this point? I don't know, but I don't. So
Okay.
that's the decision. Do you want anyone to be able to find you, or do you want to keep a separation? So
Wow, okay. That's interesting. Yeah, so I see you doing all kinds of things, though. So, like, bartending festivals.
Yeah.
And,
marketing festivals, doing podcasts. We have our own podcast, a D&D podcast.
what's the name of it?
Awful Neutral.
Yes.
It's just we barely follow the rules. It's just more about the characters and the fun. But yeah, I do a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But now with my job, I'm like, I don't know if I want them to look me up and possibly have a problem with what I'm doing. So I put my social media on friends only. And that was my solution to that.
Well, that's a really good way to grow your social media.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, like I've been like, there's been times where it's like occasionally I'll have someone, like a fan, follow me, but then I will look at their profile and I'm like, oh, they look interesting, and I follow them. And I'm
Yeah.
like, well, what am I'm messing up my ratio. It's already bad because I started Instagram, before I knew I wanted to do comedy.
Yeah. Well, see, even with Instagram, like, I'm a bad social media person. Like, I don't use it nearly enough as I should as a comic.
Right.
Like, for Instagram, for example, I have an Instagram. I never post comedy clips. Never. It's usually pictures from bartending festival, or just like me and my day-to-day life. And it's not even that frequent, like once or twice a week. So I do a show, and a fan, someone who may have liked me at the show, like, oh, do you have an Instagram? I'm like, yeah, here you go. You're not going to get much out of it, but...
You don't promote the shows you're on?
Not really. I'm just too, I don't care.
No. Book him anyway. He's funny, but you gotta like prod him maybe to
Something.
social. Yeah. So how did you get into comedy?
I feel like this makes me sound like an asshole, but I was just like, one day I was like, I bet I can be funny on stage. And I tried an open mic. It's just like ego, I guess. Like, yeah, I can do this. And I did, and it was sort of, like, I do think I'm funny, but I also think it was sort of a cheat, because my first open mic, I was married at the time, my wife came and she brought 7 coworkers. So I had like 8 people in the crowd. And I think I did pretty well anyways, but I had good response from the crowd. And so then I was off to a good start. So I actually didn't bomb for like a couple months in.
Wow.
And I was like, oh shit, this is terrible. As opposed to like starting out kind of rough and working your way up. But
Wow,
yeah.
that's interesting. So you got addicted right away then?
Yeah, I liked it. I tend to say that I started wrong, because when I first started, I would only go to the Comedy Store open mic. Only place I would go every Sunday night. I would go to other open mics. It was in La Jolla, yeah.
Okay.
I wouldn't go to other open mics, and because my wife would go with me, and she would just want to stay for my set and then leave, so I never stayed to hang out with people. I didn't really get to know anybody.
Wow.
And then the third thing I did wrong was I wrote new jokes every single week. 3 brand new minutes every week. So I'd go, I'd do my new jokes, and I'd see some other comic who I saw that, I'm like, they did those jokes last week, that's stupid. Like, not realizing you're supposed to polish it and work on it and get it to a certain point, so.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So how long ago did you
2006, December. So yeah, pretty much exactly 17 years ago. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, before you were born. It's wild.
Before I was born. That's funny. So that was in San Diego that you started?
Yep. Yeah.
Wow. That's super cool.
Yeah, luckily a couple of the guys who worked at the store, for whatever reason, took a liking to me. So they would like give me advice, give me suggestions, and kind of make sure I got a decent spot. But since I wasn't hanging out, I wasn't staying after my spot, I didn't really talk to people that much. So I wasn't really getting to know a lot of comics. And like some people who I'd see at the store, but I didn't know well, I'd be like, oh, there's an open mic at the Comedy Co-op, come to that, or there's an open mic at Winston's. Like, nah, I don't wanna, I'm just doing this one. So I really like limited my options.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So when did you start doing, did you ever do more open mics than?
Yeah, my first 2 years was just the Comedy Store on Sunday. That's all I would do.
Okay.
And then I got a booked show out of that. Some other comedian who's not around anymore asked me if I could do 8 minutes. And I was like, I can do 8 minutes. And so he booked me on a really, really crappy show. It was at a coffee shop by SDSU. It's no longer there, but the stage was a piece of plywood on top of milk crates. And there were 2 people. So I'm just standing on this plywood saying my jokes to 2 people. And I think because I was nervous, I went a little fast. And I got off stage at 7 minutes. And he made sure to let me know. He's like, that was only 7 minutes. I was like, oh, sorry. And that was that. And then I took some time off. I had a couple other booked shows that weren't great. They weren't terrible, but they weren't great.
Yeah.
Then I took some time off. And then I think 2 years I didn't tell jokes. And then my wife ran into Robert and Jessica, who I knew from the Comedy Store. They used to work there.
Yeah.
She ran into them just out of the bar somewhere. And that was around the time Robert was starting the Madhouse.
Wow.
And so she told me, oh, I ran into Robert and Jessica, they're starting a new club. And so then I kind of started to get back into it, going to their spot. And this is the Madhouse, the 4th iteration.
So what was the first iteration?
There was a Chinese restaurant in Mira Mesa area.
Right.
And they had a second room, like, sort of separate, that was just a banquet hall. It was just a big open room with tables and a little stage. And so Robert, I guess, just like leased that room from them. They were the banquet room of a Chinese restaurant.
Wow.
And it was, I'm not gonna lie, it wasn't great. It wasn't great at all, but it was the start. And a lot of people, that's where I met Christian Spicer, who I know that you know.
Oh, I mean, I'm a fan of his.
Yeah, he was a door guy there. Met some comics, got back into it a little bit, and then he moved from there. He took over the Comedy Palace. He sort of partnered with them to run their comedy side.
Yeah.
They were a Greek restaurant / comedy club, so he took that over, and that became Madhouse version 2.0. And eventually, I think it was just like trying to work with someone else in the business. Like they're running the restaurant, he's running the club. It just got they were on like different paths. So he split off and opened his very own first standalone Madhouse on top of Horton Plaza across the street.
Okay.
And that's where I really got back into it. I was around 2011. I would just hang out all the time. I would help out in the kitchen behind the bar until finally they offered to hire me. And then I was just there all the time telling jokes and bartending. And after that closed, we came down here.
Yeah, this is the Madhouse Comedy Club. We're recording live in the Brick Room while the first show is going to start. About
40 minutes.
Yeah. Doors are about to open. Come see live comedy. One of the goals of the podcast is to encourage people to meet comics, talk about the journey, and everybody to say, you have to see it live.
Yeah, it's so good. So much fun.
All right. So what is your writing process for comedy?
Man, my writing process is like, I've got what I consider to be pretty severe ADD, along with depression and anxiety, which those 3 things are prevalent in most comedians. If you ever meet a comic, they're depressed, anxious, and unfocused. That's a very common trait for most of us, I think.
Sure.
A lot of us are on the spectrum a little bit too. So because of that, like, I've never been able to like sit down with the intent of, I'm gonna write some jokes. I'm gonna think of some stuff. I just can't do that. Like an idea will occur to me. I'll be driving around, I'll see something, oh my God, that'd be so funny, this happened. And then I'll jot down a note. And then once I get that note, I'll have like a sticky pad or something, I'll write it on there, and I get home and I start thinking about it more and I kind of flesh it out. But it's just like an idea has to occur to me. I can't just conjure. I can't think like, I'm gonna write a joke about the zoo today. You know, I can't do that.
Right, yeah, it's very hard. Like recently, I have the pretzel joke, and like trying to come up with another set of puns.
Yeah.
And then just like a couple nights ago, right out there, I'm like, oh, sandwich shop. So now I've like, it's not done yet. I've said it on stage a couple times. So
Yeah.
I kind of the same way. I'm just gonna like, but I learned to put everything on the cloud. I put everything on Google Doc right away because I've lost jokes.
Yeah, I've got, again, the ADD. I've got like sticky notes, notebooks, scraps of paper, Word documents on my laptop. I've got like stuff everywhere. And the thing that sucks about when I write down an idea, there's been times where when I go back later to read it, I can't read my own writing. And I'm like,
see, that's
I don't know
what
what
I'm
this
saying.
idea was.
You have a smartphone, correct?
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's a few things in here full of jokes. Yeah.
You gotta put it in the cloud right away. Then you can like do it on your phone, and you can do it on the computer.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have to be Google, but some kind of thing where it's on the cloud and can be everywhere.
Yeah. Recently, most of my jokes are going in Google Notes app, which I can get to from my phone or my laptop. So yeah, pretty useful.
Yeah. Cool. Let's see. Do you have any hobbies that aren't related to comedy that you like to do?
I don't do much of anything. Again, related to the depression. I don't do much. I love movies.
Okay.
I like.
But do you go to the movies?
I go to the movies. I like going by myself.
Right.
Or with a buddy. I don't watch them as much at home. There's just too much anxiety. It doesn't make sense, but it's hard for me to watch a movie at home.
Okay.
But I love movies. I talk to my friends about movies. Let's see.
Do you have a podcast about movies?
No. I kind of want to, but there's so many podcasts about movies. It's like, what's the point?
Well, because it's your voice.
Yeah. I love comic books. So I have a shit ton of comic books, graphic novels, stuff like that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
What about writing a comic book? You ever thought about that?
Yeah, I'm actually in the process. I finally.
See, I'm psychic.
This guy. We did not rehearse this. My buddy and I came up with just a short idea for like a 4-page story. And so I talked to my friends who have made comic books. I got their input on what I need. So I bought like the right type of paper. It's like this giant board that's like 14 by whatever. I got the right type of markers. I got a rule. And so I've paneled out 4 pages, and then I've drawn 1 page worth of panels. And then, as with most projects, I get to a certain point and I just stop. I'm like, all right, I'm done with that.
Okay.
Yeah, I've got some like not even half finished, some very little bit finished screenplays. I've got like all these projects that I start and just don't finish.
Well, you've started comedy and there's no end to it, so.
Yeah.
So he's written jokes and then performed them on stage. So
Yes.
don't sell yourself too short there,
Yeah.
Dave. Do you wish that you had started comedy earlier or stuck to it earlier?
I do.
Did you have time?
I didn't start until I gotta do math real quick. I was 34, which I feel like is a really late start to comedy. A lot of these, like Zoltan, if you've never seen Zoltan, Google him, he is hilarious.
Yeah.
He started around the same time as me, and at that time he was so young he couldn't get into the comedy store. Like, he had to wait outside until it was his turn, and then he'd go on stage and have to go back outside. Taylor Tomlinson, who's also amazing, check her special out. She started very young, like 17, I think. Not that I would ever think I could be as good as them, they're outrageously talented, but I feel like most people start in their 20s, at least early 20s. And in fact, being a now 51-year-old comic, most of my friends are comics, and most of my friends are like in their early 30s. And I've known them for like 10 years. Like, I do wish, to answer a long-winded answer, yes, I wish I had started younger.
Okay. I had no idea if that's your answer. So what is your goals in comedy?
Used to be, I mean, the vague goal that most of us have when we start is to get famous. To generate a fan base, to like have people want to come out and see us. And that's a very ethereal goal. There's no mechanics behind like, how does that happen? You don't really think about that. And I got to a point where like, 2015, I wanted to record an album. And I did that. I set it up at the old Madhouse, or the third Madhouse. I had a bunch of friends, like a lot of my friends came to see me. It was a big crowd. Did 45 minutes. I had a little cheat sheet on the stage so I wouldn't forget. But the recording, the audio came out really bad, so I never made it an album and released it. And so back then that was a goal, but now with like smartphones and the technology is the way it's gotten, anyone can make an album, which is great. It's like there's no gatekeeper. Anybody can put an album out.
Right.
So I kind of still want to do that, but being older and objectively knowing like I'm never gonna get on late night. I'm never gonna do like a big theater. My goal now is to get into writing. Like I want to write my own stuff, but like write comedies, write movies, and then be a writer and have some of that stuff.
Yeah, you did helped you with a sketch recently.
Yeah.
So that's still in the process?
Yes. Yeah, dude, I've
That's
done
forward.
some sketches. We'll release exclusively here. Actually, I wrote a TV pilot with a buddy of mine.
Cool.
I've done some stuff, but it's just like,
So when you keep saying that a buddy of mine, is each time a different person?
Yes.
Okay.
yeah.
Interesting. See, he's doing my podcast.
Yeah.
See, this is, you gotta spread your
Yeah,
self everywhere.
exactly.
Sweet. What is your favorite joke? It could be
Of mine or of anyone's?
anybody's.
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a really tough call because there's so many. Like, I know Louis C.K., I know we've all found out he's a terrible person, but he's still a brilliant joke writer. He's got so many good jokes. Bill Burr is one of my favorites. He has some amazing jokes. Doug Stanhope, he gets really dark. He's got some great jokes. It's really hard to pick like a favorite joke.
Well, the thing about favorites is a lot of times it's in the moment.
Yeah.
Like what you can think. You can always change your answer, you know. Just call into the podcast and say,
Yeah, we'll fix it in post.
no, don't edit. No, what you do is
I'll just say this, my favorite joke is, and then I'll do this with my hand, and then you can put
Yes.
some audio in, and like, that's okay, cool.
sure. I can't believe you picked that joke. That's
I know, right?
That's
It's
my
surprising.
favorite joke too.
Crazy.
Oh wait, maybe not. I don't know. That's what you picked. Let's see. Do you have like a favorite fan interaction, like someone saying, "I loved your set"?
Yeah, there's actually a few. Can I do a few?
Of course.
So there's you know, with comedy, and we have, as comics, we have like dozens, if not hundreds of comedy friends. Like we're friends with so many comics. And there's some friends that were like, they're kind of a shitty comic and not a great person, but we're still in the same circles, whatever. So I was on a show at Madhouse 3.0, and one of those comics was on the show with me. And it's a showcase style, there's like 8 comics. And so after the show, we all kind of wait by the front door and let the audience talk to us if they want us
That's
leaving.
the best.
So this woman comes up to me, she's like, oh my gosh, I love your joke about blah, blah, blah. And it was that comic's joke. I was like, you son of a bitch. So mad. Another favorite of mine is a hilarious comic, Harper Rose, was down here. And I was on a show with her. She's great, look her up. And middle of the show, her and I were talking in the hallway out here. And a gentleman came over as he was going to the bathroom. He stopped by, he's like, oh my God, I thought you were so funny, and reached out his hand, and she went, thank you, and he reached past her to get my hand, and she was so embarrassed, she just like spun away down the hall.
Wow.
But yeah,
That does sound like I can understand why you picked those.
they're funny, yeah.
That's an interesting story built in with it. So do you have any merch?
I've got stickers. When I was
Sticker.
traveling, every so often I do once a year I do shows up in the Pacific Northwest. It's
Okay.
when Booker Zoltan introduced me to, and it's like every year I go, they're not great shows, but it's fun. I have a friend who lives up there, I stay with him. And Zoltan told me years ago, he's like, take stickers, because they're easy to pack, they're very small, and you can sell them for very cheap and make a little money. And so that's what I do, is I have stickers, generally for just when I travel. I don't sell them around here.
Where do you get your stickers at?
A website called Sticker Mule.
Sticker Mule. I
Yeah.
think I've heard that.
And if you order like, I forget, 100 or 200, it's like 70 cents a sticker, so it's very cheap. So I just sell them for,
Okay.
hey, whatever you want to
Write that
pay.
down.
Like, people give you $5, $10, whatever. They just want to support you. Here's the thing with merch, is if it feels like a sale, people don't want to be involved. If you feel like a salesman, they don't want anything to do with it. If you just say, just pay whatever you feel like. And they like you. They just want to support you, so they'll give you like $10 for a sticker. They'll give you $5 for a sticker.
Yeah, that's what I found that Alan Henderson had told me and other people several times to like do shot glasses, and I finally did it, and it's amazing because donation, it cost me $1, but pay whatever.
Yeah.
Like the lowest I've gotten is $1.
Yeah. My first 3 years of selling those stickers, like year after year, they would go to one of my jokes. I'm like, oh, and I have these stickers that go with this joke, and I would say $3 or 2 for $5, and I'd sell like 1 or 2, like no one would buy them. But then finally the fourth, it was like, fuck it. I was like, hey, just pay what you want. People like $5, $20. A dude tried to give me a $100 bill one time. I was like, dude, I would feel bad taking $100 for some stickers. But that's the thing is like they don't want you to be a salesman. They want to support you.
Right.
So if you don't put a price on it, then they'll be like, yeah, I'm supporting you, and it's great.
Okay.
And also, I do want to circle back to fan interactions.
I think you've changed my whole business model.
Why not? Yeah, we're making changes here. Fan interactions. This is just funny to me personally, because a lot of comics women or men, depending on gender, will give them their phone number after a show. They'll sometimes hook up with them. They'll go on dates. They'll meet a boyfriend or girlfriend at a show. I've been doing this 17 years, and only twice have I ever gotten her phone number, and that is just so funny to me. It's just, I don't know. It's self-deprecatingly funny.
Yeah, like, well, I feel like there's been times for me, it's like, oh, there's a woman, she's cute, and then like start hitting on her, and then like, oh, she's a comic, like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Or there's times now I'm afraid that they will become a comic.
Yeah.
With a comic boyfriend, and they're funny. I want to have, date someone that's funny.
Yeah.
Then it's like, oh great, so now what have I done?
What have I done?
I should have been dating a comic, and then became a comic.
Yeah, that's the better way to go.
And then married her. I wish, maybe I've repeated this on the podcast, but I wish I would have started comedy earlier. I started when I was 47.
Damn, yeah. I thought I started late.
I'm 52 now, so yeah. Or 46 point something, whatever.
Yeah.
Let's see. Whoa, don't do that.
We might actually be the 2 oldest comics in the scene right now at one table.
Yeah, you're never getting rid of us. Have you ever done a character on stage?
I never have. No, wait, that's not true. I did. It wasn't really a character, it was a bit. And it was for like an alt comedy show. I do like alt comedy, it's fun. It's where it's like, non-traditional, where you're doing weird stuff. It's not so much just regular stand-up. But it was 2-3 years ago, a friend of mine, Keith Foster, was doing an alt comedy show. So it wasn't a character, it was a bit. I went on stage with crutches, pretending my foot was broken.
Okay.
And then I pretended to fall and hurt myself, and I asked someone to come in, and it was a whole thing where I just pretended, and then I revealed that I was just pretending, and it was an act, and then the guy who helped me, I told him I was going to charge him for acting lessons. It was like a whole thing. It was like very weird and bizarre, but I generally am not a fan of characters.
Okay.
Yeah, I feel like you should just be yourself on stage.
Right.
Like if you're weird normally, which most of us are weird, but if you're like extra weird, yeah, take that on stage with you. But I feel like if it's too different from who you really are, it's just kind of weird.
Right. I mean, I trying to be up there and be myself, but it's hard because I've been trained by family and friends I gotta like sell the joke. I gotta show them that I'm joking, so I have to exaggerate.
Right. Yeah.
So and it's hard to now that there are people that know. I'm not saying I have a lot of fans, but there are people that like, if I just started doing deadpan, also that would be hard because it'd be starting over.
Right. Yeah, totally. It's a whole different thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, what was your family life like growing up?
Oh, it was great. Yeah, it's a normal family. Like parents are still together, never divorced. Had an older sister. They're all back in Michigan. I moved out here in '99. And yeah, they're all back there. Normal family. Yeah, nothing crazy.
Everybody says, there's this word normal. What does normal mean anyway?
Let's see.
Middle class?
Yeah, middle class, no history of psychological or physical abuse.
As far as you know.
as you know. I've been doing a character now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a pretty regular life.
Okay. And so you said you had an older sister?
Yeah, have. I shouldn't have said had. I still have her.
Okay. Yeah, I wasn't going down that road. Oh, she's not a comic then?
No. No.
Cool. So as your family seem to do comedy?
Yeah, and as family tends to do, or like normal families tend to do, they're like incredibly supportive. They think I'm just the most hilarious person.
So they're subscribed to your D&D podcast?
They don't know what that, because
Okay.
I don't think they would get it. It's just weird, and it's a little more.
You probably wouldn't want them to.
Yeah, the humor there is a little more. What's the right? Not dirty, but like a lot of dick jokes. A lot of Check it out. It's very funny.
Yeah, definitely. Cool. So, what is the best way for someone to get a hold of you so they can see festival pictures?
Oh my goodness. Probably Instagram.
And what's your Instagram name?
It's Sharkodile, which is like shark, O-D-I-L-E, like shark and crocodile combined.
Oh, okay.
Sharkodile.
So, when did you start your Instagram?
2009 or 10, maybe, I forget. But see, that's another thing, how I'm bad at social media, is it would be very hard for someone to, if someone saw me at a show and didn't talk to me and just want to try to find me, they wouldn't find me. Because it's Sharkodile, it's not Dave Callans, you know?
But do you have your name up there as well?
My name's up there, but only recently.
Oh.
Because someone told me they couldn't find me, I was like, oh, I should put my name on there.
Yeah.
And so many comments like, dude, change it. Sharkodile is stupid, change it to your name. I'm like, I like Sharkodile.
Right. Well, yeah, I agree. I was Game Jumper X everywhere from Xbox, and then I put it everywhere for Twitter and everything, and then I started doing comedy, and then I was like, oh, comedian AET, and then I didn't like that for a while. I'm like, no, and so I made it Aaron Make You Laugh.
Yeah, that's a good one. It's very unique. It's memorable.
Yeah, people are still like, made me laugh? No, and then they're like, and they want to spell out you, like Y-O-U. It's like, well, that's too many characters now. You don't know anything? Like, I have the maximum amount of characters, 14.
That's so funny.
Yeah.
Sharkodile came from, I started that with Twitter in 2008, before Twitter became a toxic hellscape. But there used to be this TV show. It was something where they would like computer generate a fight between two animals. Like, do you think a bear could beat a shark, or do you think a crocodile could beat a, like? And so they would like run a simulation. And it was this dumb, funny show. But I was watching that, and I was like, if you combined a shark and a crocodile, that would be the ultimate predator. Nobody could kill a sharkodile. And so that was my Twitter, and then my Instagram. And there was a period of maybe 3 or 4 years where if you Googled sharkodile and went to images, it would just be pictures of me. So it'd be my Twitter picture, my whatever. And now, like, Sharkodile's a thing. Like, people have done drawings, there's like been TV shows. There's probably a movie, Sharkodile versus Crocodile or some shit, I don't know. But
Your SEO is gone.
my moment of fame is.
So has anyone approached you saying they want that handle, they'll pay you money for it?
No, but every so often when a new platform starts, and I'll go to check, someone's taking Sharkodile.
Oh.
So I try to get them all, but like,
Yeah, definitely sounds like we need to change that.
Yeah. Facebook, when Facebook first gave you the option to customize your thing, I held off, and then I was like, let me see if Sharkodile's available. And someone else had taken Sharkodile, and it was like another skinny, regular white dude like me who was wearing a top hat in his picture, which I wear top hats at festivals. I'm like, that's just a clone of me. And of course he took Sharkodile. So I changed mine to the Sharkodile. I'm like, close enough.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. I think that just proves that we're living in a simulation.
Yeah, we definitely are. Simulation. We can prove it. Let's see. So what is your favorite job you ever had? Or have right now?
I mean, when you get paid for comedy, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's very rare, but it's pretty good. Festival bartending is a lot of fun, just because it's a huge party atmosphere. Like, I do stand-up comedy. I've been a bartender, but I have a lot of social anxiety, which I don't like talking to people.
It's an honor for him to be on this podcast.
It is. And people always like, I don't know if you ever had these conversations with people or if you have similar anxieties, but my friends always like, yeah, but you tell jokes on stage, how can you have social anxiety? It's a very one-sided interaction. Like they're not talking to me, I'm just telling them a story, so it's not the same at all.
Right.
But that's why I like festival bartending, because it's very quick interaction. Someone orders a drink, like, hey, having fun, cool, you check out this band, all right, cool, next, all right, cool, I like your hand, all this shit, just like real quick, brief. So it's a very ideal job for me. I don't like you know, you see me when I'm here, I'm always just bouncing around. I don't want to get stuck in a conversation with somebody where I'm like, I'm starting to get anxious, you know?
Yeah, but you're friendly to a lot of people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like I'm similar that like I feel like I could talk to a lot of people, but then it feels like a lot of times it's like I'm not really a part of this group right now.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
I could just, which is good and bad. So like there have been times where it's like, oh, I feel like I'm a part of this group,
Yeah.
and I don't want to be anymore. And
Right.
now it's going to be awkward if I leave.
Right.
So I just waited out.
Yeah, totally. I get that.
Yeah. And then, let's see. What, have you won like any comedy contest or anything?
Yes,
like that?
I won 2.
Yes!
Okay. Can I tell you
So
about it?
writing these questions down because I'm like, I want this to keep going. Like, I have to think of more questions.
So the first one, there's a guy, he doesn't do comedy anymore, but Robert Timothy. Him and his buddy Damien Mercado, who is our dungeon master on Awful Neutral, they used to run a show at the Ken Club called the Comedy Kumite. And it was a weekly contest where every week you'd have like 8 or 10 comics competing 3-minute sets. And then the winner from that week and that week and that week and that week, at the end, each week's winner would all compete in the grand finals to crown the winner of the Kumite. And so
Okay.
I think the second year or the third year, and it was, you know, it's 3-minute sets, and it was a little more alty though, like people would do weird stuff. And so for my first set, there was a comedian who everybody loved, who's passed away recently, but Jimmy Wolpert. He's probably like 15 years younger than me. So for my 3-minute set, I asked him if he would just sit on my hip and I would hold him and just feed him gummy bears as if he was like a monkey while I tell my jokes and not acknowledge it at all. And so I was like, oh yeah, so I was going to the bar and it was great. Everyone loved it. I killed, so I won that week. And I made it to the finals. And at the time, it was controversial. Like the comics I beat were a little mad because for my set in the finals, I just roasted all the other comics.
Wow.
And I won. So they gave me like an authentic championship wrestling belt engraved with champion of the Kumite, which I still have.
Wow, that's amazing.
So it was very cool. The year after me, Vince D'Amico won, and he got a katana. So always
Now
very
you
cool
feel
prizes.
jealous.
I know, yeah. But
That's
I
a
also,
useful item.
yeah, the sword for sure. There was also a comedian named Dan Sanborn, who's not around much anymore, but he would run, I forget if it was weekly or monthly, a little contest. I think it was weekly. I forget what year, but every week it was like a brackets, and it was a takeoff of March Madness. It was called Mad Marchness, and so I went 4 weeks in that, and I ended up winning in the finals against Neil Singh. He's a very funny comic, moved to Portland, look him up. And for that, I got a little trophy where Dan had taken the person off the top of the trophy and replaced it with a miniature bong. So I don't smoke weed, but I have a trophy this big with a little bong on top. So I have a belt and a bong trophy.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
So have you ever been on Kill Tony or anything like that?
I have not. I'm not a huge fan of Kill Tony. I get that, I understand why people like it, and I get that it can be a good platform. I just don't, it's not my thing.
So you don't like roast comedy?
I do like roast comedy, I just kind of think he's an asshole.
Yeah, I understand. Like I don't know him personally. I got to be on Kill Tony.
Yeah.
But I watch it occasionally.
Yeah. No, a lot of people like it, and it could give you a boost, like if you do well and if they like you, yeah, it's a useful avenue.
Yeah, like I started actually, I was watching Joke World, the YouTube channel, and then like talked about Kill Tony's, and then I started watching it again. But anyway.
Oh, can I tell you a story?
What do you want?
I was on the Joe Rogan Experience.
What?
That asterisk. So
That's
years
exactly
ago,
what I'm talking about.
a
You just remembered
decade,
thinking.
a decade plus ago, before Joe Rogan was as big as he is now. I met him he was doing comedy at a club that no longer exists called Fourth and B. It's a concert venue, but they would do comedy sometimes. And so I went
Fourth and B.
Yeah, I went and saw him, and I stayed after the show to talk to him. And I was like a brand new comic time. I was very young, and like comedy-wise, very young, and like didn't know anything. So I was like, dude, I would love to open you for you sometime. And he was like, man, my audience would eat you up. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. So MySpace was the thing at the time. Facebook wasn't around. And so shortly after that, I think his daughter was born. And it's a very long story. A lot of people were commenting on his MySpace post. Congrats, bro, cool, that's awesome, proud of you. And so I was like, oh, I'm not gonna comment, I'm gonna send him a message. So I messaged him, and he wrote me back. And so we had like a little brief message conversation. I'm like, oh my God, it's amazing, I'm talking to Joe Rogan.
Right.
And at that time, he was like, hey man, have you entered my contest for my sensory deprivation tank? I'm like, no, I don't know what that is. He's like, he was big into sensory deprivation tanks. You know what those are, right?
Yeah.
Those little tanks you get in, yeah, okay. So he was getting a new one and giving his old one away. He's like, enter the contest. I was like, cool. And I entered the contest. I thought nothing of it. And then months later, I get an email from Joe Rogan, and the subject is line, are you sitting down? Question mark. And so I open it, and it's like, you won. I'm sending you my old isolation tank. He goes, oh my God, this is amazing. It was so cool. And it took literally, I think, 2 or 3 years for him to send it to me. Just like figuring out like how to ship it and where I'm living and all this stuff. So it finally gets sent down to me. They set it up in the garage of the condo I was living in. I was married. It was in our little tiny one-car tiny garage, which was underneath. It was this huge townhouse, so it was underneath someone else's unit in our garage. They set it up. They filled it with water and salt and put it to temperature. And it was just like there. You just have to run it constantly so the temperature stays.
Right.
And it was kind of a pain in the ass to use because you have to shower before you go in. But this was outside in the garage, so I had to shower, put on a robe, walk outside, open the garage, close the garage, get inside, get out of the garage, close the garage, go back inside, shower. It was like an ordeal, sort of. And I used it a few times, and it was really cool, but it was like such a thing to do. And at the time, my marriage was falling apart, so I had like other stuff going on. So finally, the homeowners association of those condos sent us a letter saying, hey, you can't have that. If it breaks, it's gonna flood things, it's draining electricity, blah, 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 blah. So I was like, fucking fine. So I sold it. I got it on Craigslist and I sold it to somebody. And
But did you tell them it was Joe Rogan's old?
I think I did.
Okay.
But here's the thing, here's where I'm stupid. Like my thing, I'm a little on the spectrum that I'm not good at social cues. Like I'm not conversationally great sometimes because Joe Rogan emailed me, hey man, how do you like the isolation tank? And instead of saying it's awesome, I love it, thank you, I said, I actually don't use it that much. So, yeah, there's an episode of this podcast, might be episode 210 sticks out in my head, but a friend of mine sent me the clip where like an hour into his podcast, he starts talking to someone about the tank. He's like, yeah, I had this contest one time to give the tank away, and it ended up with some wannabe comic who just never used it. I was like, oh my God, that's me, I'm the wannabe comic.
Oh no.
So he just
you
like,
could have kept being friends with it. Or,
I know.
Or email.
So he just like,
pals.
deservedly so, he kind of like talked shit about me
Right.
just briefly on his podcast. I'm like, fuck, I should have told him I love him. Why didn't I just say, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I had Joe Rogan's tank for a while.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good story. Well, this might be the end. Let's see how much time we got. That's 38 minutes. Oh, so embarrassing. Well, I mean,
Is it too long or too short?
no, I don't know. Is it?
That's what she said.
It's just we went through all these. Do you remember? To preface this, I never remember this question, but do you remember when we met?
I don't.
Yay! I never remember when
No.
I meet people.
Yes, I'm the same way. There's like 2 comics where I can remember when I met them, like very good friends of mine. I remember the first time I met Brian Simpson.
Okay.
He was
Name
on the
dropping
show.
all
Yeah.
over this episode.
I know, right? There's a bar called Soda Bar. It's still around. It's a concert. It's a very tiny concert place, but they used to do comedy once in a while. And I had seen him perform there. And this is before I knew him. Now, he's very funny. Like, even when he was new, he was very good. Like, it wasn't, his jokes needed work, but he had something, and he was really good.
Right.
And so there was a night where, on the corner, like 2 blocks down, there's a Church's Chicken. So my friend and I were going to the comedy show because we knew all the comics, most of the comics. So we're walking over to Church's Chicken to get some fries. And as we're walking, Brian Simpson, who I didn't know at the time, I'd seen him, but I didn't know him. He was walking by us. He's like, hey guys, we're doing a comedy show, you should come check it out. And him not knowing that we are comics and we're coming to the show anyways. And so, you know, we went back and watched him and talked to him a little bit after, and so that's the first time I met him. And then there's another incident, I won't tell the whole story because it's stupid, but one of my former roommates, before I met her, I remember the show I met her at. Like but it's very rare, like you said, I don't really remember when I met all these people. And there was a time in the scene, maybe like 8 years ago, when I knew every single comic. Like that is long gone. Like now,
from North County?
Everybody. I knew everybody.
Wow.
We had like 300 plus, maybe 400 comics, and I knew all of them. And now I look at the open mic list, and I'm like, I know 3 of those names. Like I don't know anyone anymore. And it's mostly because I don't hang around. I'm not in the scene as much.
Yeah.
I don't go to open mics, but.
So how do you keep your comedy going if you're not practicing?
It's rough, honestly. My last 2 outings have not gone well. I think it was last weekend or the weekend before I popped in here because one of the comics was running late and missed his spot, so I was like, I'll do a spot. And it didn't go great. And it's mostly on me being out of practice because as soon as I went up and having watched the show, I knew what kind of audience they were and I didn't adapt to that. Like they were the type of audience who, they don't want crowd work per se, but they like to be involved. You know the type of audience I'm talking about. And so I didn't, instead of that, I just like recited my jokes and like they weren't really into it. I was like, oh, that sucked. And then the time before that was like maybe 4 weeks ago when on one of the shows, we just ended up through some kind of miscommunication, we had no host. So the show starts at 8 and it's 7:59, I'm behind the bar helping and the door guy's like, hey, there's no host. I was like, fuck, all right, I'm hosting. And so I went and hosted the show and because I wasn't ready for it and I was like, here we go. It just wasn't a great set. But yeah, you have to get on stage. Like you get rusty, you get out of practice, your timing is off, your confidence is off, your ability to read the room is a little bit off.
Yeah, your topical jokes are all expired.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. I should take better notes. I had a question. Let's see. So, how many shows in a night have you ever done? What's the max?
I'm not like these guys who grind a lot. I think 2 shows in a night I've done a fair amount of times, which is fun, like rushing from one venue to another. I don't know if I ever did 3 shows in a night. I think I did. But yeah, that's like, it's kind of a rush as a comic, like racing from playing, oh shit, I gotta get there and gotta get back. And just like, there's a little bit of an adrenaline boost and it's fun. I haven't done it a lot though. One thing that I do personally that used to stress Robert out is just because of my anxiety, like I need to stay occupied. Like I have some friends you've seen, I'm sure, like comics, when they're gonna perform, they'll sit alone at a table, they'll get ready, they'll look over the jokes or whatever. For me, I just need to be distracted. So there'd be plenty of times at the old Madhouse when I was working on Expo in the kitchen, and I was up next, and there was like 2 minutes, and I'm still like, okay, I need a hamburger, I gotta catch up for this, and I'm like, Robert's like, dude, you're up in a minute. I'm like, I know, I'll be there. And I'm just like, I just need something occupying my brain until it's time to go up.
Wow. That's interesting.
Yeah. And like you see me now, like I'll be behind the bar, like I'll be helping out the bartender until it's time for me to go. I'm like, all right, time to go.
Well, yeah, you do that. That's great.
Yeah, but it's only great if you stick in practice, as you said.
Right.
Since I'm not doing shows that much, I can't really.
Yeah.
It doesn't work as well.
I
as
definitely at first was like needing more time, but yeah, working here in the kitchen and stuff, there were times where it was like I would have to be working on order, and then especially for the open mic, not so much a show, but then it's like, okay, you're next, and then like finish up an order and then go on stage, and then that's not easy to do.
Yeah.
If that's not the style that you do, but I got a little better at it, so.
There's been a couple times actually recently in the last few months where a comic, a friend of ours, a local comic, would be running late to their spot, and I'm technically like, hey, you're up in 7 minutes, you need to be here. Yeah, I'm looking for parking, whatever. And they walk in the door, I'm like, you have 2 minutes. And like part of me is excited for them because again, that's kind of a rush. Like you just walk in the building and boom, you have to go on stage.
Yeah.
Like this just sort of an exciting feeling to me. I don't know if everybody likes that, but.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, we'll fix this in post. Put this back on the question about my writing process. We're gonna fix this in post. Because I just thought of this, which may or may not be interesting. When I first started doing open mics, when I was doing a brand new 3 minutes every week, I would write the jokes out word for word. I would write out like I'm typing a paragraph, and I would just memorize it and go on stage and say it. And I did that for probably 8 to 10 years. That was I would write every fucking word. I'd write it all out like a story.
That's crazy.
And then after a while, like I'd see comics just go up cold with no, I'm like, how do you do that? I can't do that. But I got to a point where I could write out like a sentence, like the gist of the joke. Like, okay, the religion joke where I talk about blah. And I just have like
that's
that.
the joke you already have, right?
Yes. And so I would just have to have my set, okay, this joke. And then I got to a point where I just do like a word, like kids, church, suicide, driving, like dating, and now.
If you look at that like year later,
know,
you're like,
yeah.
what is this?
Yeah, I made jokes about like, this is a grocery list or to-do list, whatever. But yeah, now I'm at the point, out of practice, again, admittedly, but when I was doing shows more regularly, where I don't need a set list, I'm just like, I'll decide right before I go, okay, I'll start with the kid jokes, then I'll do the job jokes, then the suicide jokes, then if I have enough time, I'll do the pet jokes, and like, just like that. But when I first started, I had every fucking word.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's like, then how do you make it not sound rehearsed?
Yeah. Calling me out.
I'm just for myself. I can't do that. The hard part is like saying it different on stage and then going back and changing it.
Yeah.
So you don't have old notes. You know, what the hell? I can't say this.
Yeah.
So, what's the furthest distance you've ever traveled for comedy?
Specifically for comedy, up to Washington. And that's part of every fall when I do those shows. I like to drive up there. I'll stop in San Francisco for the night, and usually I'll be able to get on a show there for a friend of mine. Then I go to.
Who's that friend?
I would get a few friends I want in San Francisco.
I was just super to San Francisco, and I only got to do open mics.
Yeah, it's a nice little road trip. I drive to Portland and Washington, over to Seattle, back down to Portland, down to Sacramento, back home. It's a whole thing. It's fun.
Okay, you know somebody I'm a fan of already, but what about Nick Scarpino in San Francisco? Do you know that guy?
I don't know that name.
Okay.
Now you know who's name dropping, am I right?
Well, I mean, I don't know him that well, but I went up when I went up there. I'm a fan of his company, YouTube, kind of funny. Great name for.
Yeah.
They named it before he knew he was going to be a comic.
Oh, nice.
But then the last time I went up there, I met him for the second time and saw a show at Cobb's, and then he said that, oh, next time you're in town, just message me, and I'll try to be on the show. He's
right.
And it's not going to be Cobb's because he's like, it's hard for him to get up on Cobb's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
That was the one I did this last trip. Oh, it's Cobb's. It was a lot of fun.
You got to do Cobb's?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
It was on a Wednesday, but still it was fun.
Oh yeah, his was on a Wednesday, right? The day before Thanksgiving.
Nice.
So it's probably a little easier to get on because it's like the holidays right there.
Yeah.
That's cool. Is there anything that you want to ask me? And don't ask me these questions because obviously I've been asked. This is episode. I can't say for sure it's going to be episode 14 because I might bank this episode because I'm trying to like get better because there's times where there's a dry spell, you know. Like, anyway.
Yeah. How often do you feel burnt out on comedy?
Oh, okay.
Because that's where I'm at right now. That's why I'm not getting out that much because I'm so fucking tired of going to the club and whatever.
I mean, honestly, it might just last the night. Like Saturday, I didn't go up.
Yeah.
I was tired. It was like I could have just pushed through because it was getting close to midnight when the mic would start. But I'm like, oh, I'm just too tired. I'm like, it felt like if I pushed through, I would, I could get up on stage, but it wasn't going to be that good because I really wasn't feeling it.
Yeah.
So I probably have missed opportunities like probably 10, 11 times. That's it.
That's not bad. How long have you been doing comedy?
It's 5 years now.
Nice.
I mean,
They chunk it out as a pandemic though, which is a little weird.
I got to figure out how to like like calculate how many months I didn't do comedy,
right.
and then give an answer. I started 5 years ago, but I'm counting 3 point whatever years.
That's like I started 17 years ago, but I took a 2-year break early on. Like I still say 17 years, but whatever.
Sure, by that, it's like
once you get to 10 years, like it's all the same.
you should have made it by now.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, so you don't see any stop, right? You're just gonna keep doing it.
Yeah.
Or you saying you're burnt out, so maybe not.
Yeah. When periods of burnout for me, they come and go. Like I'll go like a month or two without doing any shows, and then a friend of mine, hey, you want to do a show? I'm like, yeah, sure, and I'll have fun. I'm like, oh yeah, this is a good time. I'll do some more shows. It's just like, right now I'm in a lull.
Okay. But are you still doing the podcast, right? What's the biggest break that podcast has had?
I don't know. It's been going for like 4 years now. It's been going for a long time.
Man.
And at one point, our Patreon, we had 20 some subscribers, and one guy was subscribed at $100 a month.
Shout out to that guy.
I know, being on the podcast, like, I don't think this is worth $100 a month, but thank you, that's awesome. But yeah,
that's cool.
It's just weird to connect with, or to see, oh, that person thinks I'm good.
Yeah.
Holy cow, that
Well,
person's
maybe
a
he
fan
likes
of me.
everybody but you.
Possibly. I'm the most popular one, nice try.
You are? That's so cool.
Yeah. No, we're all pretty popular. It's a fun show. Yeah.
That's awesome.
I have my detractors as well. Because
Exactly.
I'm like the most not by the rules one. So sometimes you're like, Dave's fucking things up again. That's what I do.
That's cool. So let's name drop all the people on the podcast then.
Oh, Damien Mercado's our dungeon master.
Yes.
Sarah Lee Steiner, who's a very funny comic. She doesn't get up to that much though because of work. Jesse Egan, who, you know Jesse, right? Yeah, he's done the Madhouse before. He won San Diego's Funniest Person one time. Let's see, Clint Beischer, who runs a show called Good Jokes. There's like 9 of us, and I'm drawing a blank. Let's see.
There's
Sal,
9 of you?
Yeah, we're split into 2 groups though.
Oh, okay.
Sal Vieska is on occasionally. Bijan Mustafavi is occasionally on. Dave Wright used to guest spot here and there. Caleb Cleveland, who's actually an artist for Dungeons and Dragons.
Wow.
I'm gonna, as soon as this ends, I'm gonna remember who I forgot to name. I'm like, fuck, I can't believe I forgot that person. But yeah, it's a good time.
That's cool. Yeah, well, I think I remember when it was starting, and I was like, oh, that's so cool. And,
Yeah.
our group is kind of dissolving, unfortunately.
It's hard to keep together.
Yeah, because people keep moving away, and then Clint is busy right now. The same guy, Clint Beischer, was DMing
Oh, nice.
on Mondays here at the Madhouse in this room, the same room. Yeah, no one wanted to do a podcast of it though. They're like, oh, it's like, I'm like, it doesn't have to be good. Like,
Yeah.
as great as like Critical Role and all these podcasts are, they ruined it for the amateurs that want to just record it, be able to listen back to it.
Well, it's like whenever I see a friend of mine or acquaintance of mine like, oh, I'm starting a new podcast, my initial reaction is like, fucking why, dude? There's so many. But then I'm like, why not? Do you enjoy that? Cool. Does that make you happy? Go ahead, do a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, occasionally guests are saying, oh, how many listens you got? And I already get, and I'm like, why didn't
It's not about the listeners, it's about the art.
It's art. Last episode had 6 listens. Woohoo!
Yeah, if they ask you that, you can be like, this interview is over, just storm out.
Well, yeah, it seems like they're asking just to want to know if they should be on the podcast.
Yeah.
Or was it thousands? And the thing is, say that, I get lucky and like for some reason, the way you get more people listening is you be consistent.
Consistency is more important than anything else.
And then, you get lucky, like say that, have somebody on and then they get big and then people are like looking for stuff. I mean, especially if they're reclusive, like, oh, you can find it and then,
Yeah.
But
people, like you're saying, people like, oh, how many listeners? Trying to see if it's worth it. How did this get set up? An hour ago, you saw me and said, hey, you want to do my podcast? I was like, yeah, let's do it. And we sat down.
Right. Yeah. exactly. You got to just keep making content.
Yeah.
We could have maybe had this conversation because I want to get to know Dave, this great guy here, funny comic.
That could be.
You know?
But instead, we played 17 Truths and a Lie. And now you got to figure out which one did I lie about.
Oh, that's for the audience. That's
Good call.
which question do you think is a lie? During lockdown, Dave Callans was the man helping me.
Oh, yeah, dude.
I was cooking at the Madhouse.
Yeah. We were,
And you
because
were-
restaurants were closed, and so Robert opened like 16 ghost kitchens, and it was good food. It wasn't crap, it was really good food. And it was you cooking, and me on Expo, and Robert and Jessica just around. And I remember the first year of quarantine, the only year of quarantine, Christmas Eve or Christmas
Yes,
night.
tickets to the floor.
It got so
3
busy,
times.
I stopped answering the phone. I just couldn't, because every time I went to the door, there'd be like 11 drivers out there waiting for me. I'm like, I'm sorry.
I should have took a picture.
Terrible. Yeah. But yeah, that was good times. That was fun.
It was hell, but it was fun. Oh, and then remember, like, we had a bowl, and we're like, oh wow, it's a Christmas miracle.
Yeah, and then I was, oh no, turn the apps off.
You
Yeah,
turned
I
the
wanted to give
apps
you a
off
break.
for an hour.
We thought we caught it, but yeah, we did it.
We beat it.
Yeah.
We
And he
cleared
said,
the
no,
final
not at all.
boss.
We closed the
And
restaurants
then
for an hour.
Yeah, and then we had to like go another hour or something.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
Yeah. That was
Yeah.
crazy. I'll always remember that. I'll always be grateful that you were there to back me up because I could not do it.
That was fun. I mean, it was terrible then, but it's fun to think back on.
Yes,
for sure.
exactly. And and then like the problem is I still have to cook, and now I've kind of gotten burnt out
Yeah.
of cooking because the lockdown was so intense. But now sometimes I miss it being busy.
Yeah,
You know,
for sure.
Like, and people weren't as picky like during lockdown. Like,
They were just
like,
excited they could get
fuck,
something,
That
yeah.
last order I put, they didn't want something, and I put it on there,
Yeah.
and then, but you know,
Right.
they were
just
selling-
excited to have something, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time.
Yeah, I should get out there and see how the bar is doing. But this has been a lot of fun, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Do like a secret handshake or anything? Or everybody
Let's
does.
say bye to comedy.
Or worse.
Or worse. You decide.
The worst part.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, buddy.
All right, thank you.